Jack Badovinac and Blake Jerusai. What do they add to your room?
Well, right now they add competition, right? They add competition, they add depth. Both add a tremendous amount of collegiate experience. It hasn't been the Big Ten experience, but it is collegiate experience, and at a pretty high level, right? I mean, All-American, all-conference performer. So those guys are incredibly strong, incredibly tough. They're veteran guys. They've seen a lot of different looks, right? Those other leagues present you a variety of different defenses and things. So I think just having that extra knowledge in a position of competition, a position of need right now going into camp is critical, right? And to help with our development, to help kind of shore a few things up on that line with some other veteran guys, losing a guy like KG and things like that, it's nice to have a veteran guy step in for that role.
Blake even said he knows he's a little undersized compared to a normal Big Ten guy. Like, does that matter with those guys?
Well, you always want the right measurables, but there's more to the game than just length, hand length, and arm length and things like that. Those things certainly help, but you got a guy that does compete, that does work tremendously hard. He's got some strength. He's in the right place. He's a great technician. Him and Jack both, right? That can make up for a lot. The heart matters a hell of a lot more than some of those other things, right? And I think that's a big thing that those guys add to that room, right? And not that the other guys don't have that, but it's that's the standard coming into that room. You don't come into that room unless you have that. So that's what those guys bring.
What have you seen from Alex Pihlstrom since you've had him? Brett talked about him a little bit yesterday. Like he's changed a little bit.
Yeah, growth. I mean, he has grown. He's a guy that came in and didn't have a ton of experience at the O-line position when I got him. Obviously, he had a year or so, but he's changed his body, right, and gotten better at the technique. And then I think not just that, but he embraced the coaching, which then gives him more confidence, right? Just like anybody, right? You start having some success, you start having more confidence in your own abilities, and then I think he starts to trust the guys around him, right? And that just leads to a tremendous amount of cohesion on the unit and his better play. So I've seen a lot of growth from him.
I mean, this year creates a unique roster situation with so many super seniors on the line, but just with all of that experience being at the top, how much you see that helping the younger guys that you've got on this roster to have, Concho, Doug, Verdarian, just all of them to maybe look up to for another year?
Yeah, it's critical to our development, right? I mean, having veteran guys like that, not only lead by example, how you practice, how you prepare mentally, right? How you watch film, but little things, right? Like how the locker rooms run, right? How you handle kind of this recovery time, things like that. We do have a fair amount of younger guys that don't have a lot of experience also. So I think just the maturation process that those guys have to go through, these guys have been through that already, right? Those vet guys have been through that already, knowing how to adapt to change, right? That first group, this is their first time with us too, right? And so they've had to kind of go through a growth process also. So I think just learning how to become more experienced football players, more veteran football players, I think that adds a tremendous amount of tremendous example really for those younger guys.
Doug was named to the watch list for the Rotary Lombardi Trophy, which goes to, it honors performance as well as character. You haven't known him for too long, but what may have been your biggest takeaway from getting to know Doug and getting to work with him?
Well, Doug is an incredible young man. I mean, it's just the character that he has. I knew him as a high school senior, having recruited him at Florida Atlantic. So I knew him when he wasn't a mature six-year senior, right? So just to see kind of full circle how much he's grown and where he's come from, and as a player, how he's developed, right? I think his leadership is incredible. And he's not always a rah-rah guy, but he's definitely an alpha in the room that takes a lot of pride in what he does, and I'm very, very impressed with just what I've seen from a leadership standpoint, what I've seen from a work ethic standpoint. There's a reason he's up for the Remington, he's up for the Outland, or he's up for the Lombardi Award, things like that. I mean, those are great feathers to put in his cap, but there's a lot more to him than that, and I think that's why he's getting those accolades.
How many of your guys can play multiple positions? How many of you guys?
I have to think about an exact number, but we do want to cross-train a lot of our guys, right? I mean, that's a big part of what we do is versatility, right? And a lot of the skill sets we teach, and are very similar. This type of block is the same as this type of block, and so forth, right? So that is a big point of emphasis here. You're going to get cross-trained, you're going to get developed, and like I said, it's a next man up mentality. So I'd say a fair amount.
Bart, I'm sorry if you've been asked this, but is Pihlstrom a guy that continues to just get your trust more and more each day with how he performs out there?
It's certainly the way he works and kind of how he's grown. I think he's earning everybody's trust. I think so is that whole first and second group, right? Anybody that's up there in that main rotation, I think those guys are just getting better each day. And been very pleased and impressed with how much he's matured, how much he's grown as a player. I'm excited to see kind of how the rest of camp goes for him.